Good day. Today I would like to describe a little how one foreigner can get permission to live in Russia Federation according to the very complicated Russian migration laws acting now. The first thing is a legal base for to get permanent or temporary resident status in Russia. The foreigner must come and legally stay in Russia within, for example, 90 days if he travel according to business visa, or about 1 or 3 years time if he traveling and come to Russia with permission to work. The one of the most important thing is a legal base to get this permission to live. It can be the wedlock, the marriage with Russian citizenship, or to get quota, or have permission to work as a high qualified specialist according to current migration laws. The quota question is not very simple, because to get quota, to get permission to live, one have to make an order and wait a considerable time. As usual, it may last for years, so you would be waiting for the moment when you get the quota. Another question with marriage, not very simple one also, because there are a lot of federal courts for the last 3 or 5 years, and a lot of such weddings between foreigners and Russian citizenship as a result was refused, and people have divorced because the federal court regarded the majority of most of these wedlocks as forgery, as only formality to get the permission to live. And so after that regret by court, the people who get the permission to live out of quota but according to the wedlock, also they lost their right to prolong this permission to live. And the very interesting question is registration, because foreigner, if they have the permission to live in Russia, permanent or temporary, they must register to the all time of this acting time of the permission to live, because it can be for 3 years, for example, or for 5 years. But there is a very interesting thing with registration, because if a foreigner have a permission to live in Russia yet, and he have a real estate, he can register himself in his home or some private or some private house and village. But if he have not the real estate, he must to find some person who agreed to register himself, to register him, to register this permission to live. And this is very strange and very hard question to decide, because for the last few years the taxes to support the real estate in Russia is growing very fast, and before you have a conclusion to register someone to your real estate or register yourself, you must count, because the expenses can be very high for the last several years.